they stay there, and they say yeah, and they say there. Up, down, 'cause all I do is win, and if you going in, put your hands in the air, make them stay there.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Radio, 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 radio.
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
The human drama of athletic competition.
It's the Canusa Sports Desk on the 405 radio. Good morning. We do it every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, and that means your toll-free telephone calls at 877-297-8022. You want to give us a shout on Twitter? It's at CANUSASD, and the email address is canusasd@gmail.com. And, of course, the podcasts are up on our website forever. They're not going anywhere, just like Charlie Batch at CANUSASD.com. You want to listen to this show, last week's, or check out some of Frank's or Derek's blogging, it's all there. And if you're listening on a podcast, again, remember we do the show live Saturday mornings, 8 a.m. Eastern, 11 Pacific. So let's get right to it. Let's say good morning to Derek and Frank. Hi, guys.
Good morning, John.
Good morning, John.
And our guest is Trent Tornincasa. He is a 6'3" guard who played high school ball at Lake Central in St. John, Indiana. He was overlooked out of high school. He took the junior college route, as they say in Canada, in Chicago, and from there earned a scholarship to Hawaii Pacific University. He last played for Lake County All-Stars of the IBL and is a current free agent. So good morning, Trent.
Good morning, John. How you doing?
Thanks for calling in, man. We really appreciate it. You're in Indiana, so it's kind of early where you are on a Saturday morning. Derek Marquez, let's get it going here.
So I just want to thank thank Trent for coming on. Trent, just tell your listeners, our listeners a little bit more about yourself that we may have missed over your bio, and just tell us who Trent Tornincasa is.
Okay. I'll give you kind of the brief story. Like you guys said, I graduated from a high school from Lake Central, Indiana. I didn't have many big college looks coming out of high school, so I ended up going the junior college route, or route, as you guys say in Canada. And I played pretty well there. I earned a scholarship to Hawaii Pacific University. I came back home after that to finish my degree, and that's when I first got into minor league basketball. I played for the Chicago Steam of the ABA. After that, I got into the International Basketball League. I played with some of the teams in there. The team I played with the longest in the International Basketball League is the Oregon Waves, and I had a pretty good career with them. After that, I had some workouts with a few D-League teams. They went pretty well, but when it came down to it, didn't work out in the end. And after that, I went back to the IBL, actually, and I played for the Gary Splash for a while. I had a decent season with them, but after a while, I just kind of felt like things weren't headed in the right direction. I actually kind of got out of the game of basketball for a while. Well, I stayed in the game of basketball, but I went into coaching. I coached at a small college for a few months before I realized that, I still love playing the game of basketball too much to be coaching it. It was really hard to be around the game every day and not be playing, just seeing the game in front of your face every day and not be playing. So after that, I decided kind of make a comeback and decided to go, all out in the basketball, and, get back into the game. And it's kind of what brought me to Worldwide Career Management with Brian Brundage. I met him, and I've been working out with him since, and things have been going really well.
So for us in Canada that aren't aware of the how the different kinds of basketball leagues there are, like I've never heard really of the IBL. Is that kind of like one tier below the NBA D League, or how many minor league basketball options does one have in the United States?
Yeah, there's a few smaller minor league basketball leagues in the States. I would say they're a little bit below the D League. There's the ABA, which is the American Basketball Association. There's the International Basketball League. There's a few other leagues that have popped up and kind of folded as well. I think the Premier Basketball League. There's another league, the International Basketball Association. It's pretty much, there was actually a couple teams in Canada in the International Basketball League for a little bit. I think it was the BC Titans was one of the teams, and I know there's one other team, but I actually forget.
Yeah, I know last year a minor league basketball league opened up in Canada. I think it's called the Canadian Basketball League, if I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong. And there is a team in Oshawa, just is right near us, the Oshawa Power, I believe they're called. So but they don't get really much play in the media. You don't really hear anything about it other than local papers. So, and what I've seen from, the stadium they play in is around 6,000 people, and from what I heard, if they get 1,000, it's a big crowd. So, this is only their second year of existence, so it probably will take a while for them to kind of develop. But, it's just weird, you don't really hear about much minor league basketball compared to the other sports. But I do understand your mother is Canadian, and, do you visit Canada often? Where in Canada is she from? Just to let the listeners know a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, my mom's from Saskatchewan, a small town called Unity. That's where her family's originally from. Most of her family now is in the Calgary area. But when I was a kid, I used to go there pretty much every summer, especially young kid, elementary and middle school. All the summers, we used to always go stay out there for around a month or so. But as I've gotten older, my schedule's gotten busier, and I kind of had, my own things to do, so I really haven't been able to get out there for several years. But, I always enjoyed myself a lot when I was up there.
Cool. And, hey, Trent, it's Frank. I was just good. I was just wondering, if you could describe your game, what you like to do. Are you a score-first guy? Are you a pass-first guy? Do you consider yourself more of a prototypical point guard or more of a combo 1-2 guard? If you could describe to our listeners, what kind of game you bring to the table.
Okay. I would say I'm more of a combo guard. I wouldn't say either. I could create for others very well, but obviously I could shoot it too. My game is best really in transition. That's where I get best. You get out. Everyone on your team gets out. You're running the floor. You get spacing. When I'm in transition, I'm able to use, just kind of the space and just you're able to see the floor better. I feel like everybody plays better in spacing because you're just able to be more comfortable and be able to, just what everyone's able. You're just able to be more comfortable, and when you have spacing, it's a lot easier to hit shots. Yeah,
absolutely, I agree. Now your college career, you ended up playing in Hawaii. What is that like? What is the basketball scene like in Hawaii? Did you get a lot of fans to games? I know, the college atmosphere is great when playing, basketball. If you go to, a school where the student body really, likes the basketball team, it can be a pretty cool experience to play in front of. What's the scene like in Hawaii as far as college basketball is concerned?
We actually didn't have a great fan base at our school. It's just we had a lot of commuters, and our gym was off campus, so it just kind of made it hard for some fans to get to games. So really it was still, I had a lot of fun playing out there, but as far as fan base goes, it was just hard for a lot of fans to get there, a lot of students, because the gym was off campus. Some, how college kids are, some kids don't even have really a way of transportation to get to the game.
And I'm interested. Now, what was it like living in Hawaii? Did you know anyone there? Was it you're kind of out there by yourself? How was that experience?
Yeah, I went out there. I didn't know anybody, but obviously, going and playing for the basketball team was a huge help. So I had a group of friends and family right away. So that was a lot of fun. We were in Waikiki, Honolulu, so I was a block and a half off the beach. So, it was a fun environment to be in. And I mean, always, was able to go to the beach, only about less than a 5-minute walk. So, I mean, I had a lot of fun there.
So, Trent, we understand that your father's a hitting coach in the San Diego Padre organization. Were you a dual sport athlete growing up as well?
Yeah, I played baseball and basketball through high school. But then when it came to after high school, I kind of had to make a decision. I wanted to play baseball or basketball, and obviously I had a lot more connections in baseball. And a lot of people always ask me, like, man, why didn't you stick with baseball, or, why aren't you still playing baseball? But, I mean, I just truly love the game of basketball, and that was my passion. So I just knew I had to stay with my passion, because no other sport or anything else in life I'd work as hard as I do in the game of basketball.
So what position did you play when you played baseball?
I played second and third base.
And was a decision tough to choose basketball over baseball, even though you had the connection in baseball?
You know what? It was a tougher decision, but I mean, at the end of the day, I really knew where my heart was. So, I mean, I've never regretted that decision, not for a second. I think if I would have played baseball, I think I would have definitely always thought, what if I would have went the basketball route, because I love the game of basketball so much. But at the end of the day, I mean, yeah, it was a tough decision, but I'm definitely content with the decision that I made.
Now, Trent, what do you think is the biggest challenge for you going forward? Trying to get noticed by teams, going to workouts, going to tryouts. I have some teammates that I played with in college, and some coaches who came back after they were done, kind of trying to play pro. And they described it as it's one of the toughest things you can do, because in your conference, or in your on your team, you might be the best player, but when you get thrown into that that big pool of guys, I mean, everybody at that level can play. And what do you think your toughest thing is? Trying to get noticed and going forward.
I think the toughest thing about being in, especially minor league basketball, trying to come up and make it to the NBA or play in a big division overseas, is just everybody that you're playing with has the same agenda. So everybody is trying to play the best of their ability or have their best game, and so they could get their stats, so that they can make it to the next level. Which what ends up happening is everyone's trying to get their stats. So sometimes you're really not playing the greatest style of basketball. Instead of making the right passes or the right decisions, or if you're on a fast break and nothing's there, maybe just pulling it out and setting up the offense. There's a lot of guys out there that they don't want to do that, and they just want to go for the for the bucket or score the basket, because at the end of the day they're looking at what their stat line is, and I mean that's really what is going to market them. So it's just sometimes it's just tough, just trying to get everyone to play the right style of basketball. When everyone's playing the right style of basketball, I never have a problem, and other guys realize though too they don't have a problem. Everybody ends up getting their stats or having a good game when everyone's playing the right way.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I think now, do you think that maybe going against that, trying to get your stats and maybe making that extra pass and and really running the offense well and showing scouts or other coaches that you can run an offense and you can make that extra pass and do the little things that get guys looks overseas in the NBA? Do you think that doing those type of things can set you apart, or will that put you behind the eight ball from the guys that are really trying to get their stats and pad the stat columns? Right. Yeah, it's kind of that's a good question actually, because I just feel that some scouts or coaches can see that, and they can see a player for this guy really knows how to run a team, or he knows how to create for others and make others better, and he's a great player himself. He has a great skill set. And they can realize that. But I feel like there's other coaches out there and scouts that, for whatever reason, can't see. They don't see the player who's able to, run the offense well and create well for others and set others up, and really just knows how to play the game. I feel like some of those guys lack the ability to see that. But then again, there's a lot of coaches that are able to see that as well.
So, Trent, what has been the biggest obstacle for you to proceed in the game that you love?
I mean, I really feel that being a minority in the game of basketball, being white has made it a little bit tougher for me to get looks, just because every gym I walk into, I have to prove myself pretty much more than anybody, especially being a guard and being white. It's just I have to prove myself a lot more than others. When I come in the gym, a lot of people just don't believe at first that I could play. By the end of the day, everyone always realizes I could play, but it's just that first initial, I have to come out and prove myself every day, which, I feel like it's set me back a little bit, but at the same time, it's giving me that edge because it's giving me that chip on my shoulder to play as hard as I can every gym I walk into.
And Trent, I agree 100% with the point you just made. Myself being a minority in the basketball community, and the college team that I played for actually was a predominantly white team. We had a lot of country boy. Our big guys were big lumbering, big white guys, and we could shoot the ball. And we would walk into gyms where we'd be in the inner cities of Philly or anywhere where predominantly black teams would be, and it was just, you walk in the gym and all the fans look at you and they start making fun of you. And then by the end of the game, they realize, wow, these kids can, shoot the shit out of the ball. And these kids play fundamentally sound. And I think that is a tough thing, for you. And especially, trying to get looks. But I feel like if you can, capitalize on getting that, on standing out when people think you shouldn't, I think that gives you definitely an advantage over, maybe a non-minority player in the basketball community, as well as I can word that. At the end of the day, I guess you do stand out a little bit when, when you're a minority, you're standing out at some point. So you can use that to an advantage. I agree with that. Yeah, absolutely. And now, do you model your game off anyone in the NBA right now? Do you kind of look at film of what a certain guy's doing and try and copy that?
I wouldn't say there's a single guy that I model my game off of. There's a lot of guys that I do watch, and I take bits and pieces of their game and just try to add it to my game. Obviously I love watching Steve Nash. I play great in transition. Steve Nash is probably the best guard in transition that the game's ever seen, especially with his great endurance. Yeah, absolutely. So I like to stay in transition, so I watch a lot of Steve Nash. I'm a great shooter as well, so guys like, I love watching Ray Allen because he's got maybe the purest stroke in the game today.
Of course.
Guys like that, yeah.
How he runs off screens.
What's that? Yeah, how he runs off screen. So, those are probably two of the main guys that I study the most because, I love watching this Steve Nash, how he's able to work with the ball, and I love watching Ray Allen, how he's able to, use other guys around him to get himself open.
So, Trent, the one last question I have for you is pretty much, what is, I know the long-term goal is, like any ball player is the NBA, but what is your short-term goals on your next steps on how to get as far as you can get in the game?
Yeah, I've had a couple offers, smaller offers overseas for this season. We tried getting a little better deals, and we just feel like the deals weren't perfect for me at this time. So we're working for a couple other deals overseas right now, and hopefully within the next week or two, I will be overseas. But I'm gonna use that as a stepping stone again. I'm trying to really make it into the D League and have success at the D League, and everyone's dream at the end of the day is to make it to the NBA, and that's really what I'm trying to do. Hopefully I could get into the D League by next year. If not, spend a couple of years overseas building my resume and making that stronger, and then getting a look in the D League, and hopefully one day just seeing in the NBA.
Well, we did have DeVoe Joseph on last week, and he's playing currently in the Ukraine, and he's told us some positive things playing over there for his game. So always never overlook the European game for a year or two to at least keep on playing professionally and building your game that way.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, we'll take a quick break and come back. It's the Canusa Sports Desk on the 405 radio. Talk to Trent or Derek or Frank. Your phone calls, 877-297-8022.
You're on the 405.
We used to write letters to each other a lot, and it was intimidating to talk to him sometimes because he just seemed so isolated by himself.
She started talking about how she wishes that her life was over and she wishes that she was never born.
So I knew he had depression, but I didn't know it was that far.
Said something to me about killing himself.
Tell somebody, tell an adult, a counselor, parent, whatever.
It's a hard situation because you do risk making that person very angry and losing their friendship.
It would have been horrible for me if she never talked to me again, but I'd live with it because I know she'd be alive.
Definitely worth getting help, even if you think you're going to lose a friendship, because it's better to lose the friendship than the actual friend.
Suicide is one of the leading causes of death among teens. For more information, contact the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, 888-333-AFSP, or online at afsp.org.
Hey sports fans, this is Derek Marquez.
And Frank Nutt from the Canusa Sports Desk on the 405 radio.
Just a reminder to check out our live shows on Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific.
And Canusa Sports Desk post-game show, which airs following the Sunday night football game and after any other big sport event.
Check us out on iTunes and download our podcasts of any of our old shows that you've missed.
Canusa Sports Desk and Canusa Sports Desk post-game show are available for download shortly after we air.
Check us out on our website at www.canusasd.com. That's CANUSASD.com for our latest blogs.
And you can also follow us on Twitter at CANUSASD for your up-to-date latest sports info and tweets for our upcoming shows.
Here at the Weekend 405, we like to get beachy and mellow out.
I get a big Bob Marley.
We know you listen to escape the harsh realities of the work week.
It's a little harsh.
Wash the weekend down with the 405.
The cannonball! You're on the 405.
Just a bit outside.
It's the Saturday morning Canusa Sports Desk on the 405 radio. John Grant here in Los Angeles, California. Derek is in Toronto. Frank is in New York. And our guest this morning is Trent Tornincasa. And he'll be talking about the rest of the sports slate this morning. NBA, NFL, and whatever we have time for. So, Derek, take it away.
So, just want to touch base on this week's little brouhaha between the Celtics and the Nets. And, Frank, who'd you think was actually at fault for the whole kerfuffle, Rajon Rondo or Chris Humphries?
Oh, my God. No question. I mean, I don't know how you could possibly think that, that Chris Humphries had, it was a foul. I think the foul even took place before the shot went up. And he came down and grazed Kevin Garnett. But I think Rondo's reaction, kind of caught everyone off guard. And I think you can tell by the way Humphries reacted how, a guy 6'10", 260 gets pushed around by a guy 6'1", 185. You can kind of tell the level of, alertness that he had at the time when, if you're looking to square off with someone and you're 6'10", 260 and a 6'1" guy pushes you halfway off the court into the stands, I think you can kind of tell who initiates and who's at fault there. I think Rajon Rondo's reaction was definitely uncalled for. Kevin Garnett's a big boy. He's been doing that to guys for a long time in the NBA, and I think Doc Rivers kind of calling out his team, with their level of play lately, and especially being down, I think 15 points, led to Rajon Rondo's reaction. Derek, who do you think's at fault here?
Well, I believe it's Rondo as well, but it's not the first time Rondo's done something like this. It's kind of a typical Rajon Rondo move that he would do. It's just I've seen this done by this guy other times throughout his career, so it's just no surprise. It's one of these little scrappy chihuahuas just trying to go after the big boy, and I just like I said, Kevin Garnett is big enough to stand up for himself, and he doesn't need to get in there. I don't know if he was trying to fire up his team since they were down, but Trent, what was your take on the whole fight, brawl, slap fest between the Nets and the Celtics earlier this week?
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I think Rajon Rondo is a great player, one of the best point guards in the game. But I feel that, Humphrey's foul really wasn't quite as bad as it looked. Kevin Garnett might have tried to even sell a little bit, and I just feel that, getting beat by whatever they're getting beat pretty well by 15 or whatever points, that Rajon just kind of snapped. Everyone knows he's a little bit of a hothead. I think he just kind of snapped and, lost it for a second. And that's why I don't think Chris Humphries is, really trying to hurt Garnett on that foul or whatever. But I think Rajon Rondo just kind of lost his temper for a minute and blew up, and that's what we end up seeing.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's something to look at, too. I mean, you have to look at the reaction of Kevin Garnett as well. And he didn't even look that taken back by the foul. I mean, he was on the floor. But, if that was me and I was getting fouled like that and I really had a problem with that foul, I would have jumped up a lot quicker and gotten in, Chris Humphries' face than Kevin Garnett did. It almost seemed like he wasn't that fazed by it. It seemed like Rajon Rondo had more of a problem with it than the guy who got hit. And I think, when you look at the point differential in that game and you see, that they were losing at home, to a team that they've beaten up on the last, 5 or 6 years, in the, New Jersey, now Brooklyn Nets, I think all of those factors kind of, lead to the reaction by Rajon Rondo. And especially because of, the way Doc Rivers has called out that team, even before, the news came out that he called that team soft.
Yeah, what's your take on that? Do you think the Celtics are soft?
I think that when you look at the makeup of the Celtics, when the big three came together with Perkins and Rondo, a couple of years back, I think they prided themselves on being a tough team with Kendrick Perkins and Kevin Garnett, 3 years younger, Paul Pierce 3 years younger. The guys they were bringing off the bench at the time, were a little tougher. But now I think when you look at this lineup, when they play Kevin Garnett at the 5, Brandon Bass, being an undersized power forward is, probably their toughest guy. I mean, him, Chris Wilcox, Jeff Green, but you look at some of the other guys on that team and Jason Terry and Courtney Lee and Bradley really aren't tough guys. So I do think they're a soft team. Especially with Kevin Garnett at the 5, because he doesn't really scare anyone anymore. He's not he's not a post threat. He's not, he's a 15-foot jump shot guy. He can rebound well and he plays good defense, but he's not the intimidator that he was in his prime. And without Kendrick Perkins, I think they lack that toughness that they've had in the recent past.
I agree with you. They're definitely not the same team they were a few years ago when they signed those the big three, and they're not as feared as they were. They are getting older, I think, and that's where that's going. It's almost time to, I think, that they've played out. Kevin Garnett is getting very old. He has a lot of mileage on his body, and they're not the same threat in the NBA right now as they were a few years ago when they kind of were winning championships. What's your take on the Celtics, and do you think they need to kind of bring in some new blood there, Trent?
Some younger blood definitely wouldn't hurt them. I mean, some of their key parts right now are, getting older. I mean, Kevin Garnett, like you guys said, has a lot of miles on his body. Paul Pierce, definitely getting up there as well. And like you said, they lost some key, with Perkins, lost him on defense, and KG's older. So, I mean, those are really their two main defensive anchors before. So with Kevin Garnett getting older and losing Perkins, I mean, their defense really has, they really have got, I wouldn't want to call them a soft team, but they definitely aren't as tough as they used to be. And maybe bringing in some younger guys with some more athleticism and they have a little bit more of an edge to them, I think that could definitely benefit the Celtics.
Yeah, and I when we were looking at, when I was looking at the season that they had last year and then going into the off season, I thought a perfect fit for that team would have been Reggie Evans. I thought they should have signed him. In the off season, he ended up going to Brooklyn, and I think he's kind of a game changer for them with that toughness and his rebounding. I thought he really would have benefited from a starting role. I thought he would have started over Brandon Bass, or been the first guy off the bench if he had went to Boston. But kind of going into another topic. Around the NBA right now, a pretty hot topic, especially in my area in New York. Ian Bagley, who was on our show a couple weeks ago, broke a story on ESPN.com, I believe it was Thursday, that Amari Stoudemire wouldn't have a problem coming off the bench for the Knicks when he comes back. I guess his scheduled time to get back is going to be around Christmas time. With his knee procedure that he had November 1st. I just kind of wanted to get your guys feel for what the Knicks should do with Amari Stoudemire. I guess we'll start with Trent. What do you think that the Knicks should do with Amari Stoudemire when he comes back?
I was actually kind of surprised that Amari would take the role that he said he would take the role coming off the bench. I feel that, as of right now, it would probably be a good look. It would definitely be a good look for the New York Knicks because they're playing great right now and their team chemistry is great. So for Amari to sacrifice his starting role for really the betterment of the team, to me is, it's really great. I don't know how long that will last for, but right now, when you have the problem I see with the Knicks is when you have Amari Stoudemire and you have Carmelo Anthony out there together, you just kind of have two guys that when they get the ball stops. Now, both of them are tremendous players, and they're both great, but they both kind of need the ball to be at their best. So when you have two guys out there where every time they get it, the ball's just kind of stopping, it kind of, makes your offense stagnant at times. But I feel that if Amari's coming off the bench, he'll be, I think he'd be able to bring great energy off the bench, and I think especially at the beginning, that'd be a really good look until he got more acquainted back into the, the flow of the team, and then maybe if when the flow starts going a little bit maybe better, insert him back into the lineup.
And Derek, what do you think about this?
I think
before I kind of go off.
No problem. I guess there's going to be a Frank Nutt rant coming up soon, so let me just get my words in. I think it'd be a great idea for them to kind of ease Amari Stoudemire through the bench, test out the knee. You don't want him to do severe damage coming off knee injury, but I think, they have great chemistry going on right now. But I agree with Trent is, fortunately when Amari and Carmelo are both on the floor, there's only one ball and two players that want it. So I think if Amari's showing that he's willing to be a team player and ease himself back in the lineup, if Amari can get back to the Amari that he is when he's healthy, it's a benefit for the Knicks, and you don't want him to rush back. So it'd be a great move for them to ease him in off the bench, and if he's willing to do it, I think just everything's going in the right direction for the Knicks in that way.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing when looking at this Knicks team right now, with the hot start they've had, with the way they've played, I think there's two factors that we have to look at when we look at where Amari Stoudemire, fits into this equation. And I think the first thing we need to look at is, who would start if he isn't starting. And I think that I like the lineup with Jason Kidd, but then I don't know, Carmelo Anthony's longevity at the forward position. He is, he's a smaller four. He gives them, he gives other teams, a mismatch at the four, which is good for him. It spreads the floor more. You can get Tyson Chandler in those pick and rolls with a wide open lane with no Kurt Thomas there or no, Rasheed Wallace or Amari Stoudemire in the paint to kind of clog it up, and that helps everyone. It helps, open up shooters and stuff. So I like that, if you brought him in with Jason Kidd starting. I think that if you have Kurt Thomas start, if, Jason Kidd continues to be hurt when Amari comes back, I don't see how you can start Kurt Thomas over Amari Stoudemire. I can't see Mike Woodson doing that. And I think one thing to look at, it's kind of a, take this for whatever it means. The Knicks are 8-1 under Mike Woodson when Amari Stoudemire and Carmelo Anthony start together. So I think, with Amari's game, expanding a little bit in the offseason with his work with Akeem Olajuwon in the post, see how adept he is to play out of the post. His post play could open up things for shooters. But I think the majority of his minutes should come with the second unit guys. Whether he starts or not really isn't a big deal to me. But I think the bulk of his minutes should come with that second unit being the focal point. Between him and J.R. Smith, I don't see a second unit in the NBA having that firepower like Amari Stoudemire and J.R. Smith. Also, when you stick in point guards like Jason Kidd and Pablo Prigioni, with shooters like Novak and Rasheed Wallace at the 5 spot, or even putting Amari at the 5 spot, that'll open up things for shooters as well as for Amari to do his thing in the post. So I think looking forward to this to this season that the Knicks can possibly put together, I think it can be special if Amari buys into whatever Mike Woodson decides to do.
We'll take a quick break and come back and take your phone calls at 877-297-8022. Talk to Trent or Derek or Frank right here on the Canusa Sports Desk on the 405 Radio.
You're on the 405.
Heart disease remains a leading killer of Americans and significantly affects the quality of life of countless others who have trouble doing even simple things they once enjoyed. I'm Jimmy Johnson, and like someone you probably know, I have heart disease. Today I'm doing what I love. Spending time outdoors and with my family, talking football, and even competing on Survivor. But just a few short years ago, heart disease could have kept me from the sidelines. I couldn't let that happen. My whole career has been about hard work to achieve success. I knew there had to be a winning solution, and I talked to my doctor. Then, working with an interventional cardiologist, we decided on a stent to relieve my heart disease symptoms. I've never looked back. As a survivor, I'm urging you to talk to your doctor and know your risk, because your own health is more important than the biggest game. Learn about your heart disease, get proper treatment, and live well. For more information, visit secondscount.org.
Hey sports fans, this is Derek Marquez.
And Frank Nutt from the Canusa Sports Desk on the 405 Radio.
Just a reminder to check out our live shows on Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific.
And Canusa Sports Desk post-game show, which airs following the Sunday night football game and after any other big sport event.
Check us out on iTunes and download our podcasts of any of our old shows that you've missed.
Canusa Sports Desk and Canusa Sports Desk post-game show are available for download shortly after we air.
Check us out on our website at www.canusasd.com. That's CANUSASD.com for our latest blogs.
And you can also follow us on Twitter at CANUSASD for your up-to-date latest sports info and tweets for our upcoming shows.
Here at the 405, we've got the cure for the Mondays.
Does anyone ever say to you, sounds like someone has a case of the Mondays? No, man. I believe you get your ass kicked saying something like that, man.
Fridays.
Next Friday is Hawaiian Shirt Day.
Sundays.
I'm also going to need you to go ahead and come in on Sunday.
You'll feel better.
Oh, you know what I'm talking about.
And be a better person.
I have people skills. What the hell is wrong with you people?
Make the 405
I believe you have my stapler.
Staple of your week.
Yeah.
You're on the 405.
Personally, I think we got hosed on that call.
It's the Canusa Sports Desk Saturday morning edition on the 405 Radio from Los Angeles, California. We're live Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. So if you're checking out the podcast, come listen to the live show and give us a call, 877-297-8022. We're going to give some shout-outs to the Twitterverse, Merrillville, Indiana, checking out the show this morning, Clifton, New Jersey, Tampa, Florida, Englewood, Florida, also Astoria, New York, and Loganville, Georgia, all checking in from the Twitterverse here on the Canusa Sports Desk. Derek Marquez, some kind of tragic news from the NFL breaking this morning.
Yeah, so there was reports that a Kansas City Chiefs player has died with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. There is rumor that it is the linebacker Javon Beckler, and there was also kind of this report saying that he did kill his girlfriend back at their home and did end up killing himself at the training facility in Kansas City. So everything's kind of, that's the big story going on in Kansas City right now, and also throughout kind of the news feeds. Just wondering what your guys' take is on that, on, the tragic going out of Kansas City this morning.
Yeah, I guess the report is that he shot his girlfriend at home and then drove to the stadium and committed suicide. So, definitely thoughts and prayers go out to everyone who, loved ones and anyone who was involved with this. This is kind of a first for us, really, covering some breaking news here on Canusa. But I guess this adds, to the level of frustration that is going around the Kansas City facilities right now, especially with the debacle that the Chiefs have had this year, being 1-10. So I guess I guess we just have to wait and see how this unfolds. It's an unfortunate situation. Trent, what's your take on this shooting in Kansas City?
Yeah, obviously it's a very tragic story. You hate for some to, you hate to see things like this. So he killed his girlfriend at their house, and then he drove to the Arrowhead facility, and that's where he killed himself.
Yeah,
that's
reported. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, definitely prayers go out to their family. I'm interested to see kind of if there's more of a story behind all this, or what the story is behind all this. A story like this kind of leads you, just kind of asking yourself why, and just wanting to know more about the story. But definitely like to send out prayers to their family.
On that note of the Kansas City Chiefs and what Frank touched upon in the horrible season that they're having, which team is having more of an embarrassing season this year on the field, aside of what happened this morning, the Chiefs or the Jets from New York? Frank?
Yeah, you flip a coin, I guess, and kind of just pick and choose there. I guess you'd say they're having equally bad seasons. I don't really want to cop out on the question. I guess you could say Kansas City. They do have some talent with Jamal Charles and some of their defensive players are pretty elite as well. Especially they were a playoff team 2 years ago. So I mean, I guess when the Jets lose their number one receiver and number one defensive player, and not really having talent, in the first place, I guess you could say that they're a little bit more disappointing. But I think the more disappointing stories right now are really in Philly and Detroit, and I guess you maybe throw San Diego in there too. But I think that the two biggest disappointments are definitely Detroit and Philly. Especially with all the talent they have on those two teams. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Jets for the comparison of the Jets and the Chiefs, is because there was so much media circus around the Jets and Double T going into New York. I'm kind of trying to stop saying his name because I've been saying it way too much this year. I think there's more hype around the Jets this year than the Chiefs. I think when the Chiefs did make the playoffs a few years ago, they did fly under the radar, and they were an unexpected team. So that's why I think the Jets have more of an embarrassing season, just because there's more hype for the Jets going into the year. How about you, Frank? Sorry, Trent?
Yeah, I agree with I believe the Jets had a more embarrassing season, just because there is a lot more hype behind them, and there's Jets along with Rex Ryan, talk a little bit, so it's always a little more embarrassing when you're talking and you don't back that up. And I feel for Kansas City that there was some question marks coming into the season, just because some of their biggest stars were coming off major injuries with Jamal Charles. He had the ACL injury, and Eric Berry, I believe he had the ACL injury too, or knee injury. So I mean, it's two of your biggest paid players, or whatever, two of your highest impact players coming off major injuries. So I just feel like there were some question marks behind Kansas City and what they were going to be able to do with those injuries.
Yeah, I agree. And it's funny to look back at the preseason. And Sal Palantonio sitting up in Cortland at Jets camp, giving daily reports about this team, and it's funny being in the media market that I'm in. The flagship station of the New York Jets is ESPN New York, so I'm pretty much forced to listen to to Hall of Famer Joe Namath, and once a week for an hour, and Rex Ryan on his daily or on his weekly input, and a bunch of other Jets players that they bring on, and it's almost humorous to me. I'm a Giants fan, so I really don't care too much about the Jets, but it's just funny to see the level of publicity that they get for how bad they are, because they are bad.
So, quick question. Are the 49ers a true Super Bowl contender with, now two showing to be capable quarterbacks in Alex Smith and Kaepernick?
To me, it all depends on their defense. Can they hold people, down? Because if you look at, I'm just going to read a list right now of the last 7 or 8 quarterbacks to win a Super Bowl, and you look at Eli, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Ben Roethlisberger, Eli Manning again, Peyton Manning, and Tom Brady. That's a sample size right there of 7 years of elite quarterbacks winning Super Bowls, and we haven't really seen a defense-led team, win a Super Bowl, since, maybe I guess you'd say the Bucs were an elite defensive team, when they won, and then going back to the Ravens when they won, I believe in 2004 or before the 2003 maybe, and so I think they are definitely a contender, Super Bowl worthy. I'm not 100% sold on that yet.
Trent, what's your take on the 49ers to share?
I feel that some people are already considering them Super Bowl contenders. So, if you were considering them a contender before, I believe with the switch at the quarterback position, you still have to consider them a contender just because, you have another quarterback who seems to be just as good, but is, more athletic and quicker. So I feel like, with either quarterback at the starting, I feel like, there's definitely are a contender, and even, if not even more so, with Kaepernick at the starting position.
I agree with Trent. I think going into the year, I felt that San Fran did have a good chance to be in the Super Bowl from the year they had last year, and, the rise of Kaepernick, shouldn't make that a back step. It's actually just another step forward. So if they're already contenders, then they would still be contenders, and nothing would really change. Just now they have two capable quarterbacks that could possibly lead them there. But just one last question before our break is, today is kind of bowl championship game, and is the SEC game today between Alabama and Georgia? Is this a true national championship game? Or, being, next month's Notre Dame game versus the winner. Frank?
I think when we look at, the past 6 or 7 years, going back to 2006, we've seen all SEC champions, or all SEC teams winning the BCS National Championship game. So I guess, in essence, we are looking at the National Championship game just if we're going on, past records here. And they do have 8 champions, since '98. So, that does show a level of dominance. However, I think that, with the defense that Notre Dame has played and their ability not to turn the ball over, I think they're going to make it closer game and possibly have a win. I don't think they'll beat Alabama just because of, their level of success, and, most of the players from that team last year are now back. So they have a level of familiarity with, with the long break and then, the pressure that comes with the BCS game. I do think they can beat Georgia. For me, I'm picking Alabama today to cover. So I think that they won't beat Alabama. So I guess in essence, I'm saying that, yes, the SEC champion will be the BCS champion as well.
Yeah, I'm getting sick of it personally. Just year in, year out, to the SEC team being in there. Really hope that another conference starts. Getting a rise and getting more competition going between conferences. So right now it is SEC and then the rest, and just kind of makes it boring when it's just one conference keeps on dominating year in and year out like they are. But I agree with you. I don't think Notre Dame has a chance to beat Alabama. Trent, do you have any any opinion on this before we go to last break?
Yeah. I feel it's hard not to look at the SEC sometimes. Their finals, their championship is being, the real title winners of the year. But, with the season that Notre Dame had, I just feel like you can't negate that. So I'm still looking at the game versus Notre Dame as really being, whoever wins that as being the true champs in college football.
Okay, we'll take a quick break, come back. It's the Canusa Sports Desk on the 405 Radio.
You're on the 405.
NASCAR champion Bobby Labonte here with my brother Terry and my nephew Justin. Every sport has its essential safety gear.
For racing, we wear helmets, fire retardant suits, and Nomex gloves.
For fishing, waterfowl hunting, and boating,
we wear life jackets. After an intense race, there's nothing more relaxing than bass fishing.
Or a little duck hunting on the lake.
But we're the first ones to tell you, on the track or on the water, accidents happen fast.
In a crash, there's no time to put on a helmet. And when a boater capsizes or is thrown from the boat, there's rarely time to reach a stowed life jacket.
But today's life jackets are lightweight and comfortable. Fishing or hunting, they don't get in your way.
That's why you won't catch a Labani on the water without a life jacket.
Don't let us catch you either. Remember, you're in command. Boat safely.
This message brought to you by the United States Coast Guard. For more information on boating safety, visit www.uscgboating.org.
Hey sports fans, this is Derek Marquez.
And Frank Nutt from the Canusa Sports Desk on the 405 Radio.
Just a reminder to check out our live shows on Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific.
And Canusa Sports Desk post-game show, which airs following the Sunday Night Football game and after any other big sport event.
Check us out on iTunes and download our podcasts of any of our old shows that you've missed.
Canusa Sports Desk and Canusa Sports Desk post-game show are available for download shortly after we air.
Check us out on our website at www.canusasd.com. That's CANUSASD.com for our latest blogs.
And you can also follow us on Twitter at CANUSASD for your up-to-date latest sports info and tweets for our upcoming shows.
John Grant here on the 405 Radio from Los Angeles, California. We feature live talk Saturdays from 9 till noon Eastern and weeknights at 11 Eastern. The rest of the week, check out the West Coast Adult Alternative right here on the 405 Radio.
You're on the 405.
Gambling is illegal at Bushwood, sir, and I never slice.
It's the Canusa Sports Desk on the 405 Radio. We're live every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific. That's 11 a.m. Eastern. So if you're checking out the podcast, either on iTunes or on CANUSASD.com, join the live show. Give us a phone call. Again, it's 877-297-8022. We put you to the front of the line. And Derek Marquez, let's wrap it up for today.
So I think I'm just going to throw it over to Frank with the what's going on in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, we've had some we've had some signings. Some expected, some not expected. With the David Wright signing. Back with the Mets, 138 for I believe 8 years, and Andy Pettitte and Mariano Rivera close to re-signing with the Yankees. The two pretty big pickups for them. Especially with the Yankees' goal of Hal Steinbrenner's goal of getting under $189 million next year. These one-year contracts really helping out that cause. And then B.J. Upton's signing with the Braves for I believe 75. I think it was
75.5. I believe it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting to see, especially with the winter meetings coming up. Where some of the other pieces will fall. I kind of wanted to get your guys' opinion on. Some of the moves so far, maybe the Russell Martin move, to Pittsburgh. So what do you guys think of, off-season baseball so far? Is it heating up? Who do you think the next big piece to fall? Maybe, Josh Hamilton. What do you guys think? What do you think, Derek?
Well, I've been ready for baseball ever since the Blue Jays made that trade with the Marlins, personally, but I'm surprised that Russell Martin did sign with Pittsburgh. I thought, he was a good fit with New York. I don't know why they decided to part ways. I don't know if it was Russell's decision or the team's decision. The Braves signing of B.J. Upton. B.J. Upton hasn't been the B.J. Upton he was a few years ago, so he has taken a step back. So I really don't know what kind of B.J. Upton Atlanta's going to get for that money. So, just because he hasn't played, he hasn't had a solid season the past few years, so it's kind of the trend is kind of on the downward slope. So he really needs to impress me to show me that he still has the capability of being the B.J. Upton he was when the Rays were going to the World Series. And, I think I said it last year in the summer that Josh Hamilton was going to be a Red Sox. So, between him and Greinke, I think those are the two free agents that I'm interested in seeing where they land. How about you, Trent?
I'd say I'm interested to see what B.J. Upton's going to do for the Braves. Because I just feel, with an explosive player like that, he'll bring a lot to the table to the Braves, being a 5-tool player, and really can't ever have enough 5-tool players. So I mean, that's probably the guy I'm most interested just to see this upcoming season, see what he's going to do.
Okay, guys, in our closing minutes, let's proceed with the rapid-fire wrap-up for today. Go ahead, Derek.
So our rapid-fire question today is going to be, will a baseball player ever be acknowledged into the Hall of Fame after taking PED? So with the whole Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds. Did James Harden's performance this week prove that he's an elite NBA player? And which national championship game would you rather see, Notre Dame, Alabama, or Georgia? The last one was a foul on Popovich's fine of the NBA. And what are you watching this week? I'll go to Frank first.
All right, so starting off with the PED user in the Hall of Fame, I don't think that a person who's tested positive for PEDs will ever be in the Hall of Fame. Unless something happens in the next couple of years when the Baseball Writers Association changes their mind. However, I do think Bonds and Clemens make their way in just because they were so dominant, almost the Hall of Famers of the steroid era, I guess you'd say. So the best cheaters of the cheaters. James Harden, I think this to me is, it's almost... foretelling that he would have a bad game, going back to his home, whether it was nerves, or whatnot. I don't think it's a referendum on, whether he's an elite player or not. I still think he is, an up-and-coming player, maybe not elite yet, but an up-and-coming player. National championship game, I'm going to go Notre Dame, Alabama. I do not think it is fair that Greg Popovich was fined $250,000. End of story. He's a coach. He can play whoever he wants. And I'm watching Knicks Heat this week, as well as Giants and Redskins.
Okay, I'll go real quickly. No, PED player should never be in the Hall of Fame. Yes, he's showing as an elite player of James Harden. I'd rather see Notre Dame, Alabama, with Alabama winning. Popovich should not have been fined, and I'm watching the Bulls Saturday. Think that was fast enough?
I think so.
Opposite of me.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much. Trent Tornincasa, we thank you for joining us this morning. Very good luck with your career, wherever it goes.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much for having me on the show today.
Yeah, you bet. And Derek and Frank, we talk again tomorrow night after Sunday Night Football. And golly, I don't even know who's on tomorrow night. Do you?
It is the Eagles and Cowboys, I believe.
All right.
Yep.
That's a good one.
NFC
anyway.
matchup.
It's the Canusa Sports Desk on the 405 radio. We're back for Sunday Night Football. And again, next week, Saturday morning at 8 Pacific, 11 Eastern. So this is John Grant here, and I will be talking to you.
The post-game show is brought to you by... Christ, I can't find it. The hell with it.